As we mentioned earlier, many people have already voted. In fact, over 81 million Americans have voted in the 2020 election. Officials say early voters are setting the stage for what could be the highest participation rate in over a century. And it is no different in Texas, where young voters are turning out in record numbers. More than 1 million voters under the age of 30 have already cast their ballots in the state. That's almost a 165% increase from all of 2016. So Janet Shamlian is joining us now from Houston with more on this. You know, Texas, much like California, large population, have a state that has the ability to sort of swing things back and forth. So let's talk about these under 30 voters in Texas. You spoke to a 26-year-old who is voting for the very first time. What do you think is inspiring younger voters to get involved?
Anne-Marie, good morning to you. First, let me explain where we are. We are outside NRG Arena in Houston. This is one of 8 24-hour voting centers in the city that runs through tonight, and it's seen a steady stream of people coming to vote, probably because we're very close to the Texas Medical Center, which of course operates around the clock, many of them younger voters. So your question, what is bringing these younger voters out to vote? I think a lot of them mentioned that they were going to vote in the last election and then failed to do so and did not like the outcome of the election. So we're seeing astronomically high numbers of young voters, as you indicated. I wanted to point out in specific Travis County. That's the Austin area. It's a young population. It's where the University of Texas is located. Of the 850,000 eligible voters, 97% have registered to vote this year. That is just an incredible number and shows you the power of this younger voting bloc, Anne-Marie.
You know, typically, many more people participate in presidential elections than they do in congressional ones. I'm wondering, though, with this sort of renewed interest in politics, how can younger voters also impact the election for state and House seats in Texas?
Well, let's talk specifically about Texas, which is traditionally a red state. Now, in the past few elections, we've seen the cities, Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, turn blue. But if you're looking at the recent polls from Texas, it shows a very tight race here. And some believe that the younger voters could actually turn Texas blue this year. Again, that's been talked about for a long time. It's yet to happen. But with the number of young people coming out who tend to vote Democratic, that could be a big change this year in the state. We could see Texas turn blue. It's a real possibility for the first time, Anne-Marie.
So the Texas Supreme Court unanimously upheld limiting ballot drop-off sites to 1 per county this week. With Texas being such a large state, you know, what led to this decision? Because we know there's at least 1 county that I believe is the size of Rhode Island. If you want to vote and you want to vote early, you know, you got to have a full tank of gas in some places and the ability to have the time to travel to that 1 drop-off box. So, you know, how are authorities explaining this?
So that is a head scratcher across Texas, and I happen to be in that county that you mentioned. That is Harris County, where Houston is and where we are. 4.7 million registered voters, or sorry, 4.7 million people in this county. One drop-off location for absentee ballots, and that is actually where we are today at NRG Arena. Now, that is if you don't mail in your absentee ballots and you physically want to drop it off. The argument has been made by the governor that reducing the number of drop locations, there used to be 12 in Harris County, down to 1, that reducing that number ensures the security of the voting process. Critics, including the Harris County judge and other lawmakers, have called it an act of voter suppression. You're right. If you don't want to mail in your ballot, if you feel like you physically want to drop off your absentee ballot, some people have had to drive an hour to this location. As you said, you need a full tank of gas to do that. So some counties in Texas already had just 1 drop-off. But in counties like this, which is so populous, larger than the state of Rhode Island, it's really changed the dynamics of early voting.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, you know, at this point, with 4 days to go, people are going to feel really uncomfortable about mailing their ballots if they haven't already. They're going to want to make sure that it's in that box and being counted. Janet Shamlian, thank you very much.